Welcome to part 3 of this Football Manager 2018 experiment involving Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania. We're trying to see if the Baltic states can dominate world football. If you missed parts 1 and 2, please go and check them out first. And as always, if you are enjoying this experiment, please hit that like button. It'd be very much appreciated. In part 2, you will remember that we had a massive shock. Lithuania, at the first time of asking, managed to win the 2038 World Cup final. It was incredible. It was the first time one of the Baltic states had qualified for a World Cup. And at the first time of asking, they managed to win it. It was sensational stuff. But unfortunately, they haven't managed to retain their title. In 2042, we saw France beat Germany in the final. Let's have a look to see if any of the Baltic nations managed to make it to this World Cup. Uzbekistan have managed to make another World Cup. That's the second time we've seen that. But I don't think we saw any of the Baltic nations reach the 2042 World Cup. So it's back to normal, back to reality for them. It's a bit of a struggle, this. I think the most successful experiment we ever did in this format was the Nordic experiment. For whatever reason, those countries seem to do really, really well. And I've done the same things as what I did to them. So it's just not to be. But Lithuania winning the World Cup, that's a surprise. I didn't think any of these nations would win a World Cup, if I'm honest. In this part 3, we are going to holiday till the end of the 2058 World Cup. So we're going to go 5 World Cups into the future. Just skip quite a few years ahead to see what's happening. There's going to be 5 parts in total to this experiment, by the way. We're going to the year 2102, so quite far into the future. This is Estonia then. Their Premier League really is pushing on. It's up to 3-star reputation, which is really good going for them. I think they started in 1.5. But you can see they're the 14th best league in Europe at the moment. They got as high as the 12th best league. So it's above the Sky Bet Championship at the moment, which is impressive stuff. It's above the Scottish Premiership. So the Estonian Premier League is coming on really, really strongly. They're 53rd in the world rankings. They've been up and down between as high as 38th and 82nd in the last few years, as you can see. They've got some good players playing for good clubs. If we just look at the squad, best player plays for Arsenal. It's Vadim Lyokin. Probably mispronounced that as usual, but I do apologise. They signed him for £37.5 million. I think we saw this guy before, didn't we? Coming from Krasnodar. It rings a bell. But yeah, he's their best player. He's a top striker playing in the Premier League. There's this guy that plays for Monaco. He's 25 years old. Hasn't reached the potential he was meant to get to. Same with this player that plays for Sporting. That is the story of the series, though. Players just not reaching the potential. This guy possibly could. He's 21. There's still a bit of growth left in him, but he's playing for an Estonian team, so he probably needs to get out of Estonia and move to England or Spain or Germany to really push on. But at the same time, the Estonian league is now a good league. So perhaps it's not a bad thing to be playing in the Estonian league as it's pushed on so well. We might see an Estonian team winning the Europa League. That is feasible, I think, on this. Let's have a look then to see how they've got on in recent competitions. They won the French Youth Invitational, which I think England won in real life last year. Let's just have a look. Yeah, 2016, I'm correct. So, yeah, that's not bad going. Did they win it or did they come second? What did I see there? Oh, they finished third, sorry, in 2033. But yeah, that's still not too bad. It shows their youth system is pretty good, I guess. Let's have a look then at how they've been getting on in qualification. You can see here in 2039 qualification for the 2040 competition, they finished third. So they didn't qualify via that means. World Cup, you can see they were the 10th best second place team. So once again, they miss out just about on getting to another World Cup. That's really unfortunate for them. International League, they have won a couple of divisions, as you can see. 3 out of the last 4 years they've managed to win. So they might have moved up quite a few divisions looking at that. And you can see here, they did actually qualify for the 2040 Euros because they won this playoff. And I think this is via the International League. Now, if some of you may have answered these questions in previous episodes, but I'm pre-recording all of these parts, so I can't have a look at your comments and then feedback in the future parts. So that's the way I'm doing this. But you can see here they did lose in the group stages. They reached the second round, remember, in 2028. But in 2040, 12 years without making it to the Euros, they unfortunately lost out in the groups. So let's have a look at the 2040 European Championships then. Kosovo managed to make it. That's really impressive from Kosovo. Let's go down. Estonia, bottom of their group. They lost every single game, but that is an incredibly tough group to be put into. Spain, Belgium and Holland. That's a little bit mean. Lithuania, also bottom of their group, despite winning one match. But Latvia, look at this. They qualified. All 3 Baltic states qualified for the 2040 competition. That's fantastic to see. That's what we want to see. We want to see more of that in the future. And Latvia, surprisingly, who've probably been the weakest team so far, have managed to qualify for the second round. So let's have a look to see how they got on. Where they are. They lost 1-0 against Austria. Pretty unlucky to lose in the second round, but they will get a few points on our Excel spreadsheet, remember. Let's go and have a look at Latvia then. 37th in the world rankings. I think that might be the highest out of any of the Baltic states. In fact, if I just scroll down, there's Latvia, and we had Estonia down in the 50s, didn't we? There's Estonia in 53rd. Where's Lithuania? They won the World Cup, and where are they? I might have missed them. We'll have a look at them in a second anyway. They possibly might be higher. But the weird thing we've seen with the Latvian domestic leagues is the higher division, it's just dropped off a cliff. It's a 1-star reputation. I have no idea why this has happened. It's down to 93rd, which is a stark contrast to Estonia. I don't understand what is happening. This is the best team in Latvia. Professional club, 1.5-star reputation. They're competing in the Champions League. They've won the league multiple years in a row, but it's not improving the reputation of the club. You can see here they've just won their first Champions League qualification stage. Last season they did get knocked out in the second stage, went through to the 4th qualifying round of the Europa League. This might be the problem, and in fact they lost against Zalgiris, who of course is the Lithuanian champions. That is intriguing. Massive battle and a half between those two clubs. But that might be the problem. Perhaps they're not getting far enough in Europe to improve the reputation of the league, and that's why it's dropping. But it just does seem very strange for it to be dropping so low. So that might be the game having a weird bug, which is a bit of it's annoying. But Latvia, despite that, they have been improving, so it's not having any impact. In a way, it might be a benefit because the good players might leave Latvia earlier, move to big clubs and improve. So it could be a blessing in disguise for them in a strange roundabout way. But at the same time, I just think there's going to be less players being produced as a result. Although the youth ranking's still at 200. I've not changed that, of course. That's still at 200. And look at all these players with potential. They've got some serious talent here. They've got a 16-year-old with 190 potential playing for a margarine team. Victor Regza, 1 cap for his country, and moved for £42,000 to an Estonian team from Latvia. That's the right thing to do. The Estonian league's a good league, a good step up for him. He's one of the best players you can see. Look, he's just all round a very good striker at 16 years old. He is going to be a superstar, I hope. I really hope. He's fairly professional, so he's got good personality to try and get up to being a very good player. So let's keep an eye on him over the next couple World Cups. I think he's going to be a star. They've got a really good golden generation of players coming through. Look at all the top 4 players with the top potential. They're all 21 or under. They have a real chance of producing a team here that can compete, possibly in the Euros and maybe in the World Cup. We saw Lithuania win it, and they didn't have. I mean, they had a very good team, but I don't think they had potential quite as strong as these players. If they reach their potential, they've got a really good team on their hands here. Let's look at their competitions, and we obviously know that they lost in the second round of the Euros. So they did qualify via the second place team format, as you can see. Their World Cup wise, they finished 3rd in their groups. They still haven't managed to make it to a World Cup, unfortunately. International League, they seem to be doing quite well. So, and they were unlucky not to qualify for 2036 competition, as you can see there, losing in the playoffs. So yeah, really good stuff for Latvia at the moment. I'm surprised how well they're doing. Moving on to Lithuania then. Actually, this is the best team. 28th in the world rankings. They've been as high as 8th. Remember, they won the World Cup here. They suddenly shot up to 10th. They did improve slightly, and they stayed for 2 years, basically in the top 10 almost for 2 years. They have dropped off lately since that golden generation, I suppose, has got a little bit older. But what has happened to the team? Why is it so small? What's happened here? That's really weird. But look at these. They've got a really good world-class player. This is the guy that we saw previously. 30 years old now, so it's at the end of the time. I mean, if they're not going to win something now, again, they're not going to win a competition for a while. Obviously, they won the World Cup 4 years ago, but this is probably their last chance to win something, and they obviously didn't take it. They didn't get to the 2042 World Cup. So I'm guessing this guy will retire. 80 goals in 114 games for his country. He's been a servant to Man City for many years since his £13 million move. Looks like a very good player for Manchester City. They've also got this PSG chap who reached his potential. 100 caps, 7 goals. He's a defensive midfielder. Moved for £73 million. A lot of money. And he's an exceptional player. And they've also got a very good goalkeeper who has... he's got getting on a bit, so that's why his current ability has gone down, but moved to Spurs for £21 million quite a few years ago. Really good striker, goalkeeper, sorry. You can see why they did win the World Cup a few years ago, but the team has just been depleted. It's very odd. I presume they've got players in the under-21s. Maybe there's an under-21 competition coming up and they've all moved down, but it doesn't look good for the future for Lithuania. I can see them dropping off below Latvia and Estonia in the next few years. I think, despite winning the World Cup, they're in the weakest position now. So they're going to have to do something about that. So I've holidayed through to the end of the 2046 World Cup. And we'll start with Estonia as usual, because we're going in alphabetical order. They've still got this chap in charge. I think he was in charge 4 years ago, Milhal Lamutas. I might be wrong, but they've got a regen in charge anyway. Let's just have a look at their manager history, in fact. So they've had... only 4 managers, and they do last a long time, over 7 years on the whole. And this guy might last over 7 years as well. So that's pretty impressive from Estonia. They're obviously quite loyal, and I think it's only been Estonians in charge so far. 58th in the world rankings, by the way. They have dropped off a little bit lately, which is a little bit of a shame. But they do have some good players. If we just have a look, you can see here. 3 players with over 160 current ability playing for top teams. They've got a player playing for Real Madrid, 29-year-old, moved to Real Madrid for £65 million. They've got this chap playing for Dortmund, got 47 caps for his country, moved from Real Sociedad, and they've got a Liverpool player. He's only 20 years old, 5 goals in 10 games. He is one for the future. He's moved for £15 million from Tallinn, who signed him for £7.5 million. It shows how big Tallinn are now, spending quite a lot of money on players, but then selling him on. He looks very impressive. He's got 175 potential. He surely will reach that because he's already at 163 current ability. They also have this guy who's got 188 potential. I don't think he's going to reach that. He's already 23. It's a bit unfortunate, really, because he could have been a world star, one of the best players in the world. But perhaps he got stuck in Estonia. Maybe that's the problem. Playing for Trans for too long. Moved to Tallinn for £4.4 million. So he's good enough for the Tallinn Premier League, to win the Premier League of Tallinn. But he's not good enough to move to a Premier League, an English Premier League team or a La Liga team, something like that. You can see Tallinn are dominating Estonia. They've been winning the league every year now. And 3.5-star reputation. Of course, they're rich because we gave them a bit of a monetary boost. All of the top division teams in Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania. And they seem to be spending their money wisely. Let's just have a look at Champions League. How have they been getting on? Played in the Euro Cup last year. So they didn't even play in the Champions League last year. And this year, 2 years ago, so they got through to the group stages of the Champions League, which is very impressive. Unfortunately, it looks like they got knocked out. Although, thinking about it, yeah, they went... right, because the leagues at different times of year. So they got knocked out of the Champions League, went through to the Euro Cup this year, as you can see. They got through to the semi-final where they... Did they win it? No, they lost, I think, in the semi-final stage. So that's really, really unfortunate. Oh, we could have had a team winning. Let's just have a look at this. Where are they? So they obviously got through to the semi-final. Yeah, Leon managed to get through to the final. But that's really unlucky for Tallinn. I can see them winning the Euro Cup in next year even. In the next 3 years. I'm not going to bet money on it, but I reckon they can win the Europa League in the next few years. How have they got on then in competitions? Let's have a look to see if they've managed to qualify for the last few. So once again, 3rd in their European Championship qualifying for 2044. So did they get through via the International League or something like that? Let's just have a quick look. 2044. No, they lost in the playoff stage, semi-final playoffs. So they didn't qualify for 2044 World Cup qualification. They finished 4th in their group. So no, they haven't managed to make the last 2 competitions. So no more points for Estonia, unfortunately. They almost got some points via the Europa League. Moving on to Latvia, who've gone down to 73rd in the world rankings. Remember, they were up in the mid-30s 4 years ago. And now they've dropped off for whatever reason, despite the fact they had some very good-looking players. And this guy, 187 potential, he's not reached it, but he is playing for Dortmund. Polakovs, who moved for £13 million from Tallinn. All the talent is going through Tallinn, through the Baltic states. That seems to be the team to move to then move on to one of these other teams. But I swear they had a really good potential player, and he doesn't seem to be here. That's really strange. Maybe he's injured at the moment. I thought they had a player with over 187. Maybe this is the guy I'm thinking of, in fact. Anyway, he is their best player, and then the next best player has 139 current ability. So, yeah, they need to produce some better players here if they're going to compete in Europe, let alone the world. Let's just go through to competitions and see what they've managed to do lately. European qualification, they finished 3rd in their group. World Cup qualification, they finished 3rd as well. And the playoff, I think they did get through to Euro 2044, which is good to see, but they did finish bottom of their group. We'll have a look at that in a second after looking at Lithuania. So Lithuania, have they improved? They've gone down slightly. I did predict they would go down. I actually predicted they'd be below Latvia and Estonia, but that isn't the case. They're actually the best team out of the 3 at the moment. And manager-wise, they've got a new guy in charge in the last year. They've had a couple managers last quite a long time, but not as long as Estonia. This is the national team then. It's once again very small. Very strange how small this is. Their best player's only got 145 current ability as well. So despite the fact they've got not the strongest team in the world, they do seem to be doing all right at sort of keeping in the top 50 teams in the world. But they are going to have to find some better players at some point if they want to win a World Cup again. Are we going to see another World Cup win from the Baltic states? It could happen. It was very surprising that they won the 2038 World Cup, because before that we didn't see any of the nations qualify, and since then we haven't seen any of the nations qualify for a World Cup. Presuming that Lithuania haven't qualified, you can see Lithuania, unfortunately, they did get through to the European Championship. They lost in the second round against Italy, so they've managed to get through to 4 European Championships in a row. That's a really good achievement from Lithuania, I must say. If we just look to see, they qualified via being the 4th best second place team once again, as you can see there. Internationally, this is how they're getting on. And yeah, they're doing pretty well, aren't they? World Cup qualification, they were the 7th best team. So does that mean they didn't qualify? Yeah, they didn't qualify. So they've only qualified for 1 World Cup, which is the one that they managed to win. It's pretty amazing, really. So this is the 2044 Euros, where England beat Spain in the final, but we did see Latvia and Lithuania qualify for this competition, and as you can see there, they finished 2nd in their group, consisting of Holland, Poland and Hungary, so they qualified for the next round. Where are Latvia? They finished bottom, only managing to get 1 point, but that's a very tough group with Spain, England and Russia in there, so pretty unfortunate there. Second round then, we saw Lithuania lose against Italy 2-0 in that round. We're now halfway through the 21st century. It's the 17th of July 2050, and Estonia have improved. They've gone up to 38th in the world rankings quite recently, so that's really good stuff. It might mean they qualified for a World Cup, seeing that growth. So we'll have to see in a second. This is the team as it stands at the moment. They've got a very good player in Sergei. I'm not going to even attempt that. He's got 21 goals in 45 games, plays for Liverpool, moved for £15 million. This is the guy we looked at previously, and he seems to be doing very, very well. This chap, remember, with the potential, never really managed to get there, but he has left Tallinn, moved to Napoli for £3.9 million, and then moved to Roma for £4.7 million. So he's certainly moving around quite a lot. They do have some potential in here. They've got a 20-year-old with 171 potential, as you can see there. So it's a decent looking team, actually, this Estonian team. I think they can go quite far. Let's just look at their youngsters. Who've they got? 178 potential in this 16-year-old, and 120 potential, 142 potential. What am I talking about? 142 potential in the under-20s, and then in the under-19s, 141 potential is the best player. Competitions-wise, and you can see they did qualify for the 2050 World Cup, their first ever World Cup. Really good achievement from Estonia, finishing, well, they were the third best team out of the second place teams, basically. And at the World Cup, they managed to finish third in their group. So they did go out in the group stages, but at least they didn't finish bottom. At the most recent Euros, they did pretty badly for qualification for 2048, but they did actually get through. So they obviously played in some sort of play affair. They beat Bulgaria to get through to the Euros in 2048, which we'll have a look at in a second. Latvia have improved. They're now 59th in the world ranking, so they've improved since 4 years ago, which is good to see. Was it Latvia that had that really good wonder kid striker who was 16 years old? I feel like it was them, but it might have been I've completely forgotten off the top of my head. But let's have a look at the managers, because I haven't looked yet. I forgot to look at them 4 years ago. So they've had 5 managers in 33 years. So all these nations are quite similar. They do seem to hang on to their managers quite a long time. Latvia and Estonia in particular. This is the team that, oh wow, look at this guy, Viktor's Regza. This isn't is this the chap that we looked at? I feel like it might be. Yeah, he played for Flora, so he's in the first team, and he moved to Manchester United for £2.7 million, and he's, in the last couple of years, he's certainly starting to score goals. He's now 24 years old. It's 8 years since we first saw him. He is phenomenal. What a player he is. Could he go on and win the World Golden Ball? He's at a club which will give him the opportunity to do so. But they've got a deadly duo up front. Polikov's as well, also playing for a good team. He's playing for Dortmund, and 78 goals in 100 games at the age of 28 for his country. And Regza, 50 goals in 67 games. They've got some good players. They could go far, but have they managed to qualify for recent competitions? Let's have a look. So European Championship, they didn't qualify for 2048 by the look. Well, they definitely didn't, because we can see that there. And World Cup qualification, they finished third in their group. So close, but it's just not good enough, is it? However, and there's no sort of playoff for finishing third. So yeah, they've missed out on the last 2 major competitions, unfortunately. Let's move on to Lithuania then. Lithuania, 55th in the world rankings, pretty similar to Latvia really. 3-star reputation for their league. The Latvian league, I know it's a problem that it's gone down to 1 star, but they've produced 2 of the best, well, they've produced probably the best player yet in that striker, that Latvian young striker. He's 24 now, I've forgotten his name, Viktor's something. And that's not had an impact on the production of their players. That is interesting. Anyway, as you can see, they've got some good players here. One playing for PSG. Once again, a small squad. It's very strange. But the best player plays for Leverkusen. He's a right back, 22 years old, so he's young. Producing hopefully starting to produce a new golden generation, Lithuania. They've got a few decent players here. But why is the team so small? I don't understand. Doesn't make any sense. Oh, look, 186 potential. This possibly could be one of the best players we produce as well. Brzezinskas. And he's currently playing for Lithuanian champion Zalgiris, and he could be a real star. Competitions-wise, then, you can see here, they didn't win the 2050 World Cup. Did they even qualify? Let's have a look. No, they missed out. So they still only qualified for 1 World Cup. European Championships, they did qualify by the looks of it, and they finished bottom of their group. So irritating. Why can't they just get a bit further? They've won the World Cup, for goodness sake, but they can't seem to get past the second round of this of the Euros. It's really, really frustrating. Let's have a look then at the most recent European competition. Let's scroll down. Lithuania, bottom of their group. They lost every single game to Germany, Slovakia and Portugal. Estonia likewise lost against Italy, Croatia and Switzerland. And of course Latvia didn't even qualify for this competition. The most recent World Cups, Croatia and Mexico, the winners. And that's without me doing anything. I think Croatia have a very good youth system, so they can feasibly go on and do very well on the game without having to do anything. Mexico also, I've noticed they tend to do quite well on World Cups. They did finish second in 2026, but they've managed to beat Mexico in the 2050 World Cup held in USA of all places. That's quite funny. But yeah, we've had some good winners. Of course, Lithuania, the best one, but Croatia and Mexico, really interesting stuff. We're now in the year 2054, and once again we'll start with Estonia. The Estonian Premier League, by the way, up to 3.5-star reputation, really impressive from Estonia. It's the 7th best league in Europe. It's and the Lithuanian one's the 8th best league in Europe. We could feasibly see a Europa League winner from these clubs, possibly even a Champions League winner in the future. It's above Holland and Russia. Very, very impressive. And the nation as well has improved. It did decline a little bit 2 years ago, but then improved to be 39th in the world rankings. This is the world rankings as it stands. You can see Portugal are currently top of the world. National team wise, this is the best player in the country is the guy that plays for Arsenal. He's still playing. In fact, no, he played for Liverpool. I'm confusing with someone else, but he moved to Arsenal for £74 million. Really good all-round rounder, really great right winger. This is the second best player playing for Leverkusen, Slim Oja, 32 years old now, so he has dropped off a little bit. Moved for £3.6 million from Gladbach quite recently. So yeah, the team is ageing a little bit, but they do have some potential. A 22-year-old with 172 potential, probably won't get to that level. Kut, an attacking midfielder, 178 potential. Could be a star in the future. Let's have a look at the competitions then. What have they managed to do in recent years? So European qualification, they didn't qualify via their group, but perhaps they qualified via the playoff. No, they lost, so they didn't qualify for the 2052 European Championships. So that's a little bit unfortunate. They've qualified for 24, 28, 40 and 48, so it does seem to be a bit sporadic the way that they qualify. World Cup wise, I don't think that was good enough, was it, to get through to the World Cup? Let's just have a quick look. No, 2050 still the only competition they managed to qualify for. Latvia then. We all want to know how Viktor's Regsa is getting on, I think. They're currently 49th in the world. They've been as high as 18th. So they're doing really well despite this weird reputation problem with the higher league. Where are they currently? They're down in 93rd, which is just ridiculous. Maybe all the Latvian players are leaving to go to Lithuania and Estonia, and that's just dragging the reputation of the Latvian higher league down. That could be a problem. Let's have a look at Viktor's then. Oh, he's not in the team at the moment. He hasn't retired, has he? He can't have retired. He might be injured, but he's got 84 goals in 105 caps for his country. He's now 28 years old. Surely he hasn't retired from international duty. Does it say on his biography? I can't really remember where it says that they've retired from international duty. He is the top player in the country, though. Still playing for Manchester United, and what a player he has been for Manchester United. I bet he's won loads of things with them over the years. Or maybe not. Although, does it show Champions League? I don't think Man United have won the Champions League, in fact. Look at this. Oh, they did in 2044 and 43, but they haven't won it since. What a player he is. 84 goals in 105 caps. I don't know whether he's retired or not, but we shall find out. This is the second best player in Latvia. 36-year-old goalkeeper, 124 caps for his country. I think they're having a little bit of a problem at the moment, because you can see here they don't have very many good players. That's problematic for the future. Hopefully they've got some potential. Yes, 154 potential player in the under-21s, and in the under-19s, not quite so good at this stage. But let's see if they've qualified for the last two competitions at least. Let's see. So European Championships, third in their group. Did they qualify for the playoffs? Yes, they did. They beat Norway to go through to the 2052. Oh, wow, they got through to the quarter-final. That's really impressive from them. Thanks to that Viktor's chap, the striker, they managed to get through to the quarter-final where they lost against Germany. That's pretty unfortunate. Still haven't managed to qualify for a World Cup, though, but to get through to the quarter-finals of the European Championships, that's the best we've seen yet from any of our nations. Let's see the journey then for Latvia. They finished second in their group, finished ahead of Switzerland and Slovakia. Do we have any? Did Lithuania qualify for this one? Oh, they did. They finished top of their group. 9 points. Really impressive stuff from Lithuania. Second round then. Lithuania lost against Holland despite easily winning their group, and Latvia won in extra time against Turkey to qualify for the quarterfinals, where they lost 3-2. Really unfortunate. Regza did score a penalty, and this guy Polakos, remember him? He was 93 goals in 136 caps for his country. I guess he's retired as well. Now playing for Liverpool, moved for £38 million, but he scored the other goal. So well done to Latvia for that. Moving on to Lithuania then, joint 42nd in the world rankings. They've got a bigger squad at last. It was really weird how they had such a small squad for so many years, and they do have some very good players. Ignas Juravicius is their best player, playing for PSG, moved for a free from Lithuania quite a few years ago, and he looks like a top talent. Attacking midfielder, brilliant passing and vision. Oh wow, what a creative talent he is. Second best player plays for Juventus, 26-year-old. Moved to Juventus for £17.5 million from Leverkusen. You can see he played in Estonia for quite a few years. The Estonian league is doing really, really well. But so is the Lithuanian league, to be fair. Got some decent looking players in the youth teams as well, coming through the rankings, as you can see there. So I think they're set for a few years. I think they probably could be the best team overall. They've obviously won the World Cup. I can't see the other two nations catching them now. It's going to be really tough for the likes of Estonia and Latvia to win a World Cup, I think. And I think it's going to be pretty impossible for Lithuania to win another World Cup. But you never know. Let's look at the competitions then. So we know they lost in the second round of the Euros. They qualified they qualified top of their group. So well done to them for that. That's the first time we've seen that. World Cup qualification, they missed out again. So they've still only qualified for that one World Cup. We're now at the end of the last World Cup that we're looking at in this part 3. In part 4, I'm going to be holidaying until the end of the 2078 World Cup, so another 20 years into the future. So I hope you're looking forward to that. But let's concentrate on 2058 to start with. So Estonia currently 38th in the world rankings. They do seem to be floating between about 50th and 30th. The highest they've been is 24th a couple years ago. They've got this chap in charge, Henry Kalast, who looks all right. I think that's been a problem in the past with these experiments. They don't always necessarily have really good managers, and that can be a problem. But once again, the last guy lasted 7 years. Pretty amazing how much loyalty they get. They basically give them about 2 World Cup cycles, don't they, to prove themselves. This is the Estonian squad then. So the best player plays for Chelsea, hasn't reached his potential, and strangely only has 3 goals in 14 caps. Why has he only got 14 caps when he's the best player in Estonia? Unless they've been playing a tactic that doesn't... Oh no, they are playing a right winger. Maybe they had another really good right winger who's only just retired and he's not been able to get into the team. Or perhaps he's been injured a lot, maybe. Who knows? But he's moved to Chelsea for £30 million. He's obviously a good player. The second best player is goalkeeper. These Baltic states do seem to produce pretty decent goalkeepers, I've noticed. Anderlecht, he plays for Anderlecht, moved for £2.1 million from Estonia. And how's the Estonian league getting on at the moment then? Where are they in the European rankings? They have dropped below the Lithuanian one, as you can see, but they were as high as 7th. They're up to 8th at the moment, just behind Lithuania. Really good achievement from those two nations to produce such good teams and such good competitions as well. You can see Tallinn, 4-star national reputation. We're going to have a look at the Europa League and the Champions League at the end of this part, just to check if any of these teams have managed to win it. Also World Golden Ball and that sort of thing as well. I'll have a look at that. Let's see how they've managed to get on in the last couple of competitions, and have they qualified for another World Cup or European Championship? Well, they haven't qualified for another World Cup. That shows their European Championships. Did they? Oh yeah, they did. 8th in European Championship qualifying, second place team. So well done to them for that. That was their World Cup. They were the 7th second place team, and yeah, they need to be doing better than that to qualify for. So European Championships, they got through to a quarter-final, so they've managed to match Latvia's achievement from the last European Championships. This was their first one in 8 years, so that's pretty good. They lost to Italy, so unlucky. Let's have a look at this then. Italy won it, so they did lose against the eventual winners. So I think that's the best way to go out. Lose against the eventual winners, then you can go out with a little bit of pride. Let's see how they got on in the group stages though. So Lithuania, they qualified for another one and they qualified out of the group. Estonia qualified in second place as well, as you can see there. And I don't think Latvia managed to make it to this one, unfortunately. Second round, Lithuania lost against France 2-0. And Estonia beat Turkey 2-1. Really, really good. And then in the quarterfinals, they did lose 2-0 against Italy, unfortunately. But not bad going from them. Latvia have dropped off. They're down to joint 73rd in the world rankings. And the higher league reputation has gone down to half a star. What is happening? And look at this. Look at the variety of winners. Ventspils won it for so many years in a row. But look at what is happening to Latvia. I just don't understand. Really strange. And in fact, the clubs have become semi-professional again. They were professional, but now they're semi-professional due to the reputation dropping so low, which isn't good. I feel like I should boost them again, but I don't think it's any fault of my own. I just think it's the game has had a right old go at Latvia for no apparent reason. Look, it's gone down to 156th. Doesn't make any sense. It must be pretty level with the Latvian First League, in fact. Let's have a look at that one. That's 240th. Oh, I can't... I just don't know how to explain this weird goes on. And it's had an impact on the team, I must say, because they've lost that really good striker now. And now they're relying on these players. There is a player of good potential in the under-21 squad and also in the under-20 squad. Under-19 squad, there isn't really anyone. So it's not looking good for Latvia at the moment. They obviously wouldn't have qualified for the European Championships this year. They still haven't managed to qualify for a World Cup. They finished 4th in their group. It's not looking particularly good for them. Lithuania, 50th in the world. That's the lowest they've been for a while. They were 64 3 years ago, but they've been as high as 16th in the last 8 years, but they've dropped off a bit as well. But the league is going from strength to strength, and they do seem to have players playing for some very prestigious clubs here. You can see, wow, what a player, playing for Barcelona. Jurovicius, he's 27 years old, 19 goals in 95 games for Lithuania, moved for £64 million from PSG. This is, that's the really creative player, isn't it? This chap plays for Benfica. He's only got 7 caps, though, strangely, despite being the second best player. This is the right back, 116 caps, now playing in China, moved for £26.5 million. So they've got some good, talented players. This I remember him, Brzezinskas, now 23 years old, playing for Bayern Munich, moved for £15 million from Atalantas in Lithuania. So some really good a player just called Rick. Cracking name, Rick. So 3 goals in 7 games. 29 years old. He's not really their main striker. Plays for Zalgiris, as you can see. See, this is weird. The A-League only works alternate years. And I don't understand why. In fact, Rick started in Brazil. So he was born in Brazil and he's changed his nationality to Lithuanian, when he became a Lithuanian national. So he's only been in Lithuania for 6 years, which is why he doesn't have that many caps. That is fascinating. The Lithuanian league is strong enough now to attract players to move from Monaco. So he wasn't really getting into the Monaco team, but he's got into the Zalgiris team and changed his nationality to Lithuanian and started playing for. That is brilliant. I love that. It's great to see. Let's have a look then at the International League. In fact, I haven't looked at their competition history, because did they manage to qualify for another World Cup? Of course, we saw them qualify for the European Championships. World Cup, no, they still can't qualify for a World Cup. It's very frustrating. This is the International League then. We haven't seen any of our nations manage to win this. They've not even managed to get into the top 2. So, yeah, let's have a look to see where they are. We've got none of them in the top division. Division B, are they in here? Surely Lithuania are in this division, and Estonia, but I presume Latvia are quite far down. Latvia are... they're not even Division C. How have they dropped all the way down to Division D? Here they are. That's disappointing, isn't it? This is Division D last year, so they must have got relegated from the division above down to this division, which is a bit frustrating. Champions League then. So, Atletico Madrid have won the most recent Champions League. We've not seen any of the Estonian or Lithuanian teams manage to get into this stage, and of course we're not going to see any Latvian teams at all. This is the Euro Cup. Have we seen it? Tallinn, they were runners-up. Really unlucky. In Zalgiris, runners-up in 2051. You might have spotted that previously when I showed this. So, Yeah, that's really, really unlucky for these two teams not to win it. But I said they would start to improve and get to finals, didn't I? They don't get any points for reaching the finals. They have to win the Europa League and win the Champions League to get points. That's just the way we decided the point system back in the Nordic experiment. But they might win something sometime soon. World Golden Ball then. Have we seen any of the Baltic states produce a player that has won this competition, this award? I don't think we have. I'm just going to skip down and just double check. They do have to win it to get any points, and it's only this World Golden Ball. There are other similar awards, but I've decided just for the World Golden Ball that they will get points, because this is the Ballon d'Or, basically, the one that everyone cares about. But yeah, I don't think we've seen anything. Maybe one day we might see one of these players pick it up, because we have seen some very good players. We just haven't quite seen that top player. For example, let's look at Gorka Ruiz. He's won it at the age of 34, which is pretty old to win it. He's got only 169 current ability, and he's managed to win World Golden Ball. It does help that he's playing for Barcelona, but maybe one day we'll see a Lithuanian player move to Barcelona and win it, because you don't have to necessarily have the best current ability. It's about your team awards as well. Like if you win the Champions League, for example, then you do have a chance of winning that. World Team of the Year, I'm just going to skip back because it doesn't show nationalities. I can't easily see if one of the players is here, but you might recognise a name and be able to see that one of these players has popped up in World Team of the Year. So if you do spot someone, stick it in the comment section below. It's going to be pretty hard to actually notice it, to be fair. But I think Kopilov was one. Yeah, Estonians. We've got an Estonian player in there. Really good achievement from him. Let's just go back another few years. I'm sure there's a few in here because we've seen some really, really good players over the years, haven't we? I'll just go back as far as then. So then, the spreadsheet has changed quite a bit in today's part 3. Of course, the World Cup still hasn't changed. We've only got that one tally mark on here, which is when Lithuania won it. With the European Championship, though, this has changed quite a bit. We've had Estonia and Latvia reach the quarterfinals. Lithuania, very prolific in getting through to these competitions. I think they've got through to 7 in a row, but they haven't managed to get past the second round stage. Latvia have managed to get through to 4. Estonia have managed to get through to 5. So Latvia's still doing quite well despite the problems with their league. I'm not really sure what to do about that. I could alter the reputation manually, but that kind of... It feels a bit naughty, to be honest, because the game's obviously decided that that's what's happened to the Latvian league. I don't know why, but because the Estonian and Lithuanian has vastly improved, the Latvian has gone backwards, which is really, really bizarre. But these are the total points then. Latvia only 1 point behind Estonia despite their problems, so they're doing pretty well. Lithuania way ahead because of that World Cup win, of course. If they hadn't won that, though, then they would actually be losing, strangely enough. Because that was 15 points. No, they'd still be winning, sorry. They'd be on 10 points if they hadn't won that World Cup. So they'd still be winning, but it'd be a bit closer. But will we see another one of these teams win the World Cup? Find out in part 4. Until next time, enjoy FM18. I'll see you very soon.